everyone and welcome to another episode. I thought after last night's video it was only right that we started this episode with an update on what's going on, and it's good news. Andy didn't have a heart attack, which is amazing. However, he's not very well. He has inflammation of his heart, which was caused by a viral infection, and at the time that obviously peaked and presented like a heart attack. So very scary for all involved. However, in a week or two, you'll see there'll be an episode about it, basically. But in the meantime, we have some footage already filmed up until that point. We'll have to apologise though, the edits might be a bit ropey. Unfortunately, after our repair on our four-peak hatch, whilst being towed by the RNLI, the hatch did fail, so there was water pouring into the four-peak, which is where the MacBook was being stowed. So we're editing on a bit of a ropey laptop that keeps cutting out, and trying to sort out our camera equipment because there's a lot of saltwater damage. So next couple of episodes obviously were filmed before any damage to the cameras. However, our editing software and computer access is not so good. So there might be some dodgy edits. But want to say thank you so much for all your wonderful comments of support. Obviously, we will go more into details in what happened in a future episode, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody that helped with getting Andy off the boat and getting the boat back into Milford. I want to thank the Angle RNLI, you guys are amazing, and the Coast Guard, you're amazing. And the skipper on Celtic Wildcat that helped with the relay because we were having issues with our VHF, and the staff at Milford Haven that made space for us. We didn't originally come in here, but they've made space so we can come in here. So thank you for that, and a big thank you to everyone that's sent us messages of concern and support, and the biggest thank you ever to Andy Darlington for, you know, looking after Andy and looking after my son. I just can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. We now have the boat safely in Milford Haven, and we're going to spend a little bit of time regrouping, Andy resting here whilst we get ready to carry on with our journey of moving her back to North Wales. But we will address that and let you know everything that's going on in future episodes. For now, I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
I arrived back at the boat last night with the autopilot and all the bits that Andy and I worked on, and while I was at Andy's, he and I did this. All this timber came from around Whitehall, which is fantastic, so it's been properly sawn and dried and seasoned, and I'm going to use it to make some modifications to an area that I have worked on several times in the past and have never been 100% happy with. When I did this shelving unit at the back here a few months ago, I did it in new but fairly inexpensive cheap hardware store plywood, and it's, you know, it's fine because it's a dry boat, and I'd got it covered in this sticky back vinyl with the plan of eventually buying nice veneer to cover it with, and it's been fine. But the problem I had was the switch panel being in that location next to the seat. I kept leaning on it with my shoulder, and if you bring shopping in or bags and you put them on the seat as you do, they can sometimes flick a switch and turn the refrigerator off and stuff, so we've had problems with that. So that's why last week I moved it to this location, which is much better because you can't inadvertently switch it off. And when I was up at Andy's and he showed me all of that lovely timber that's cut and sawn, I thought, well, that's just beautiful, and he got loads of it. So I've got a bunch of it with me, and I'm going to start building the shelves again at the back there. I've made a lot of sawdust and a lot of mess and a lot of progress. So my digital piano will fit in there. Obviously, I'm not going to play it in there. That's the storage spot. It's going to come out onto the table to be played. I've got my little Vox amp there. I've got my Scarlett interface there. And I'm going to make a bunch of these little shelves at different heights to accommodate microphones and camera kit and all of that kind of shebang. The question is, and this is what I need to talk to Melissa about, is the live edge. Do I want to cut those planks down so they've got a perfectly straight edge? Or do I actually want to keep the character and feel of the live edge on these shelves? Now, I personally love that. I think it's fantastic. I think the live edge looks really, really good. And I've got another project involving a Waney Edge epoxy river table for the saloon coming up at some point. So I'm not going to go any further until Melissa's seen it. I've got the go-ahead. Melissa absolutely loves this layout, and I think it's going to be really good as well. We've been discussing this business of the kind of knots and stuff on the raw edge, and what we'll probably do is round some of these off, keep them, but just round them off so that they're not actually going to kind of jab into you if you lean on them. Because once you've cut them off, you can't put them back. So if I decide I'll take the sharp bits off that, or anything potentially nasty, but try and keep as much of it as I can. And worst case scenario, if I do find, yeah, it's a pain, then I can just cut that straight, can't I? It's no issue to modify it further down the line. So without further ado, I need to get this pinned and glued and screwed and secured all together and get it all finished, because as you can see, it's just it's just mocked up at the moment for Melissa to approve. Getting all this back together, let me just explain what's been on. A lot's been happening. The fridge freezer is now in there because I found that the chart table layout just wasn't working for us, and we've got the fridge freezer in the saloon behind the seat, and that was crap. So I've got the fridge freezer in there with a mesh panel to let it breathe. This opens up like so and is on a spring so that holds it open. And I'm midway through sort of varnishing this. I've got my shelves all made. I've also done a full rewire job here, which is much better than it used to be. So here's my switch panel. This wire is the freezer that's in the chart table. Sorry, it's the freezer that's in there. So that's my negative bus bar. Here's my positive bus bar, and I've got cabin lights, heater, freshwater pumps, galley, fridge freezer, anchor light, tricolour light, and so on and so forth. And that's the Victron shut off, and my main power shut off is there. And then I've got this for the water tanks, and the fuel tank gauge is now in the cockpit, which is a much better place for it. So if you notice, one thing that's missing is a door. So here is a door that I've been working on. This is a reclaimed door off another cupboard. That's a cutout for the switch panel, so that when it hinges shut, the switch panel stays put and this just closes. I've routed this out and put in some veneers here. So this is maple. We've got walnut for the mast. and oak for the boom, and I'm just going to mix up some epoxy and put in some tints and do an epoxy flow in there, and then possibly maybe route out some more for the sea and do like a mica powder tint in here, or perhaps just paint on there. I might just paint it, but we'll see what I can come up with. So this week's episode is going to be a bit late, I think, because, as you know, Melissa's away visiting her dad and dropping some stuff off at Whitehall to Andy and Liz's and what have you, and she's just been on the phone to me basically in floods of tears. Her dad got ill with Alzheimer's last year, and he's in a nursing home up north, and he's just getting worse and worse and worse. So he's sort of, it's just really upsetting for her because he doesn't really know who she is, and I think once she reminds him who she is, he's really happy to see her. And Jack and Ollie in Alaska, and he sort of plays along. So if you were to have a conversation with him, you might not think he'd even got Alzheimer's, but if you know him, it's very, very clear. You know, he's got to the point where he sort of clearly doesn't really recognise her when she gets there, and when he does, he's just really upset and crying because he's confused and he doesn't really know what's going on, and he doesn't want to be in the nursing home particularly. I think by all accounts, according to the nursing staff there, when she's not there, he's super happy. But when he sees her and gets these flashes back of who she is, it's really upsetting for, you know, he kind of gets flashes back of memory, and it's really upsetting for him, which is really upsetting for Melissa and really upsetting for Jack as well. So she's not coming back as soon as I thought she was, which gives me a little bit more time to work on this. But it's like, yeah, it's really, really sad, you know, that she's, I don't know what to say really. It's just an awful situation to have to go through for anybody. So where that leaves me is just a few more days to do work on the boat. So, you know, a lot of you might be thinking that we're sort of procrastinating and doing jobs on the boat because we're, you know, putting off leaving or putting off going somewhere because I'm constantly coming up with things that need to be done to the boat, and it's not that way round, it's the other way round. It's, we've got family stuff going on, so while Melissa's away, I find things that need doing on the boat to sort of make improvements while I've got the chance. Oh well, just feel really awful for Melissa really. It's just a terrible thing, but hey. Right, so the next thing I've got to do with this though is make the fiddles, because as you can see, I've now got my keyboard here, my Scarlett audio interface here, these aren't varnished yet, my Vox pedals, my guitar leads and microphones, my little Vox practice amp, camera kit's going to go up here, hard drives will be in there, and I've got to make fiddles to stop stuff flying off while we're underway. And I've also made this into a slide out desk, so I'm going to put a stool here that folds down so that we can sit here and edit and have the keyboard and what have you, and still be able to get to the fridge freezer, which is under there now. So it's a way more useful setup for us. And I've put a mesh in here so that the freezer can breathe properly. And all that seems a bit kind of, why is that important when there's stuff going on with Melissa's dad? I'm at the top of the mast because I've got to replace the masthead light. Our Weems and Plath one was no good. We're sending it back to Weems and Plath. I've got to fill in a return form and all that stuff. So I got a second-hand one with no base, and I've made an aluminium base, but it's only got to last until we get our Weems and Plath one back under warranty, hopefully. I don't like being up here, but such is life. So I'm not going to talk to you much while I'm up here. I'm just going to film, if you don't mind.
We're having a bit of a disaster at the moment. The mouse line snapped, so we're using the VHF cable as a temporary mouse line. But that's just at the top of the mast at the moment, fixing everything together so we can bring it back down.
As Jack just said, we're having a bit of a disaster at the moment because the mouse line broke. Basically, I've hauled up the cable for the VHF antenna and attached a new mousing line to it, and then we're going to pull the whole lot back down once I've spliced these cables together. It's been a little bit of a mare of a job, but nothing's ever simple. It's been a little bit of a mare of a job, but nothing's ever simple at the top of the mast. This wire here, can you see I'm pulling this one? That's the one that comes round. It comes out to the bottom of the mast at the toilet end, right, the front of the mast as it were, and it comes round the companionway side, not round the seat side. But yeah, I mean, I didn't film all the previous trips up the mast to kind of assess the situation and see what tools I'd need and what have you. So this is the fourth time I've climbed the mast in the last few days.
The nice thing is that we can be using these headphones so we can communicate easily.
Yeah, exactly. We got sent these headphones to review by Hollyland. Hollyland. And they're one of the best things we've ever had on the boat. When we use them when we're anchoring, so that there's no shouting from one end of the boat to the other. And for situations like this, you know, Jack is profoundly deaf, and even with his cochlear implants, he struggles, as you might imagine, to hear sometimes. So having these headphones on just means that we can just talk to each other, and I can say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and this is what I'm doing now, and rather than me sort of thinking, what on earth is Jack up to, or Jack thinking, what on earth is Dad up to, we can just be talking to each other and having a nice civil conversation about it all.
Okay, I'm pulling. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, stopping. Pulling. Not pulling, just I can't pull it. I can't. What's up?
Okay, so after all that shenanigans with the masthead light, we are off. We are going on our longest single sailing trip yet, unless everything goes horribly wrong. You'll notice Melissa and Oliver and Alaska aren't here. I've got Andy crewing and Jack is with me. So you're probably wondering why that is the case, and I'm not going to tell you until next week, because it's quite a big thing that we're announcing. So I'll say bye-bye for now, and I'll pick up next week's episode exactly at this point. So this journey is about 300 miles, and our intention is to do it in one hit. We're hoping not to have to stop to go into port at all. We've got full tanks of diesel, thanks to Dave, full tanks of water, new sails, the hydrovane is up and rigged. We've got basically everything is set, and the boat is in better shape than she's ever been. So it's just going to be, should be, an absolutely fantastic trip. We're just hoping for the right amount of wind. Currently it's the right amount of wind, so we're going to get out past all of these sailing boats that are racing, and then we're going to put some sail up and bat on. We're just going to, see how the journey takes us, and try and do it in one hit.